Hi, I'm Brian with Boulder's Elite Sports Nutrition. So you might have wondered, should I eat right after I exercise? And you might have heard two different sides of the story. And on one side, you have people who say, yes, you should absolutely eat after you exercise. You need to replenish the proteins and you need to replenish the carbohydrates that you've broken down and you burn during exercise. And I belong to this side myself, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But first, I want to address the other side, which says, no, you should wait at least 2 hours after you exercise to eat. And the reason they say this is because during exercise, growth hormone levels are elevated, and if you eat right after you exercise, the growth hormone levels actually drop back down to baseline levels. And in their mind, growth hormone is this wonderful anabolic hormone that encourages muscle growth, and it encourages your muscles to get stronger, and they want to keep it as elevated for as long as possible after they work out. And if you eat right after you work out, then growth hormone returns back to baseline levels, and you're not going to get as much of a benefit out of it. And it turns out growth hormone is actually a bit more complicated than that. Growth hormone, like all the other hormones in our body, works in different ways depending on what part of the body it's targeting. Now, if growth hormone were targeting the muscles, then growth hormone would have this growth effect where it would encourage the muscles to get larger. But when you're exercising, growth hormone isn't targeting the muscles, it's actually targeting the liver. And the reason it's targeting the liver is because growth hormone helps the liver turn amino acids and lactate and a few other substances back into glucose in a process called gluconeogenesis. So when we exercise, when we start running out of muscle glycogen and liver glycogen, then our body starts to need a new source of glucose. And what it does is it starts breaking down the muscle tissue and sending the amino acids that it derives from that muscle breakdown down to the liver, where the liver can turn them back into glucose. And that's where growth hormone helps. Growth hormone targets the liver and signals to it increase the rate at which you turn amino acids into glucose. So it makes sense that growth hormone is elevated during exercise, because during exercise we have these incredibly high energy demands, and we need some way to keep blood sugar stable, to keep blood sugar in a certain range. And if we didn't have growth hormone elevate during exercise, then we would very rapidly become hypoglycemic and experience low blood sugar, and we would hit the wall and crash very, very rapidly. But growth hormone allows us to continue on exercising for a longer period of time. So, what happens after you eat, after exercise? Well, once you eat, then your levels of growth hormone are going to return back down to baseline levels, because you've supplied your body with an external source of glucose, and your body no longer needs to break down muscle tissue in order to derive that glucose. And this is a good thing, because you want to halt that muscular breakdown process as soon as you can after exercise. Because if you continue breaking down muscle, then even though you've triggered increased muscle protein synthesis by exercising, the fact that you're continuing to break down your muscle is going to limit the amount of benefit that you gain from that protein synthesis. So, yes, you should definitely eat after you exercise. Hopefully you should eat within the first hour, and you do need to replenish those proteins and those carbohydrates, and that's going to give you a lot more of a benefit than keeping growth hormone elevated. Because to recap, growth hormone is not targeting the muscles when you're exercising. The elevated growth hormone doesn't mean that you're getting bigger and stronger. It actually it more specifically means that you are breaking down muscle tissue, and you want to return growth hormone to baseline levels so that your body is no longer breaking down that muscle tissue.